And to a protest of a different kind in Uganda this weekend, top DJs in the country have pledged to play Bobi Wine music at the top of every hour. This to show solidarity with the musician and opposition MP who was detained and allegedly beaten by police this week. Here's CGTN's Thuli Tshabalala with a wrap of the political tensions that rocked Uganda this week.
They have been protesting in the capital Kampala since Thursday. These opposition supporters are demanding for the immediate release of Ugandan lawmaker Robert Kyagulanyi, popularly known as Bobi Wine. He and several other opposition supporters and MPs were arrested in connection with an attack on President Yoweri Museveni's convoy on Monday night. The president was campaigning ahead of a by-election in the hotly contested town of Arua.
Bobi Wine encompasses a threat that Museveni faces. And the threat is real, and the threat is not Bobi Wine as an individual. The threat is the fact that the demographic dividend in Uganda is not in favor of Museveni. Young people are not going to vote Museveni whatsoever. He has to use violence if he has to keep in power. And we know he wants to stay in power.
Wine appeared at a military court in the northern town of Gulu on Thursday. He was charged with unlawfully being in possession of ammunition and weapons, but he was hospitalized while in police custody. The lawmaker was assaulted, allegedly by police. Wine has been a fierce critic of President Yoweri Museveni's 32-year reign, and activists say his detention is a political move to silence him.
The difference is that Bobi Wine comes from a different perspective. He's a young person. He has not been associated with this government. He has no history with this government. He's an ordinary. When we see him, we see our story. Like in all of us, younger people in this country, we see our story and we see the future. He might not, I'm not saying, a lot of people say, oh, he's going to be the president or something. I don't believe that he might be or he might not be, but I believe that he's a good political mobilizer. I believe that he has a very good skills as a political mobilizer.
Local media is reporting that Wine was transferred to a military barracks in Kampala on Friday. He is due in court again next week. Thuli Tshabalala, CGTN.
Well, for more perspective on these developments out of Uganda, we spoke to political analyst Danstan Omari.
Under the Ugandan laws, under the UDPP laws, the law spells out in Section 19 that whoever is found with a military hardware, like a gun, AK-47 or those guns that are owned by the military, you will be charged in a martial court. That has been challenged in the Constitutional Court in Uganda, and the Constitutional Court has said that is illegal. So Bobi cannot appear before the court-martial under the case law, the decision of the Constitutional Court. Uganda, as it is, does not respect the decisions of the court. Therefore, he is being charged under a law that has been declared unconstitutional. Internationally, universally, court-martials belong to soldiers. They don't belong to civilians. So Uganda, what it's doing is fundamentally going against fundamental human rights that have been accepted universally worldwide. What is happening is that Bobi Wine is taking the same route Museveni took for him to come to power. Whenever you persecute somebody who has connection to the masses, Museveni, the president at what time, was persecuted by the regime of dictator Idi Amin. He disappeared to Uganda, to Tanzania, led a revolution, came back and took to power. So the more they are persecuting Bobi Wine, the more they are making Bobi Wine an institution. The opposition in Uganda has been largely under Dr. Besigye, who has lost the clout. Now that we have Bobi Wine coming in, the more they are arresting, the unrest that we are seeing, the type of international media that is capturing this story, the story is now an international question. So we are getting, he's getting a bigger profile, and he might be the ground on which the opposition will rally to make the President Museveni's term come to an end. There's quite a lot of anger in the Ugandans. The Ugandans have tried all their means through the electoral process to unseat Museveni. It has failed. President Museveni has entrenched his rule in Uganda. So that rallying point has been missing. Now that Bobi Wine has come in, that anger is boiling. And if that anger continues to boil, we are likely to see a lot of problems in Uganda. That might be the only way to restore democracy in Uganda. So that anger is building to be a national anger, and it is building to be an international anger, because once everybody is looking at the events in Uganda, the atrocities that we are seeing, the type of torture that we have seen all over on Bobi Wine, and very many others that have not been reported, is a clear indication that the Ugandan people have a lot of anger.